Hello, Ada County, and welcome today to our next Lunch and Live. My name is Shandy Lamb. I am ACHD's Deputy Director of Communications, and today we are coming to you live to talk about safe routes to school and community program projects with our Bicyclist and Pedestrian Safety Coordinator, Meg McCarthy. So Meg graduated from Southern Oregon University with a bachelor's in history of all things, but got into transportation planning because she spent so much time on a bicycle. And she was always wondering why things were designed and built the way that they were. So she started researching. I think that's where the degree in history came into play. And she became a self-proclaimed transportation nerd. So Meg is a native Idahoan. She got her start in planning when she accepted a position at Utah State University, working on the transportation demand management, and was an active participant on the Cassia County Bicyclist and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. Meg has biked across America and was part of the nation's first emissions-free trail crew in Utah in 2016. So let's meet her. Please help me welcome Meg McCarthy. Hello, Meg. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So, Meg, can you just start out by telling us a little bit about your role here at ACHD? It's pretty unique. So,
Yeah.
Let's a deep dive into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So my role here at ACHD as the Bicyclist and Pedestrian Program Coordinator, I am kind of shorthand like the bike expert at ACHD. So anything that has to do with bicycles or pedestrians comes across my desk usually. So a lot of that means that I review projects that we're working on that are in design or in concept, and I'm providing feedback from the perspective of someone who's going to use this as a bicyclist or a pedestrian. And I also work in the planning department. And so in planning, we are identifying projects, and we do that through a whole host of ways. But I think an important thing about planning and the things we get to work on are community projects and safe routes to school and neighborhood plans. And we have all sorts of different plans and ways that we identify and prioritize and program projects to get done at Ada County. I also get to hear from all of the cyclists and pedestrians in Ada County, which is kind of exciting. It's a really fun job, and it's connected me with a lot of great cyclists here in Boise and all across the county.
That's great. And it's a big job, but it's a pretty new job, correct?
Yeah, it is brand new. So ACHD has always planned for bicyclists and pedestrians, but they have never had anybody solely focused on bicyclists and pedestrians. And so because of my background in history, I do love to research. And so I'm able to take time and really look and see what are the best practices for bikes to get across a roadway, or how could we best design crosswalks or bike lanes or whatever that treatment or whatever we're trying out could be. And it's really exciting to be able to kind of be that like nucleus. And I get to work with a lot of other departments because the job is so unique. So that's a fun part of it too.
Yeah, I know it's one that they wanted for a while, and it's fantastic to have you on board. The community was really excited to get you on board as well. And I think that you always give that voice to our bicyclist and pedestrian community in all of those meetings, which I know they appreciate. So you mentioned earlier that a lot of your job deals with community programs. So can you just explain a little bit about what ACHD community program projects are?
Absolutely. So I think when people think about ACHD, there's a perception that we just go in and widen roads or deal with storm drains or something. But ACHD is really focused on building transportation for everybody. I think our mission statement is like quality transportation for everyone. And so community program projects are only projects that are going to enhance the neighborhood. And so they're sidewalk projects, they're crossing projects and they're bike lane or multi-use path projects. And all of these projects are usually, none of them really ever have to do with widening a road. We're looking at what's already existing and how can we help make it better and safer for the people in this neighborhood.
And some of those people are our littlest and most vulnerable members of the community. And oftentimes they're headed to what would be the heart of their neighborhood in a school. So I know you deal a lot with safe routes to school, and it's something that we hear about all the time, but I don't know if it's something that we really know the ins and outs of. So can you just give us a brief understanding of what is a safe route to school?
Absolutely. So a safe route to school is a national program. It's not something that only ACHD does, something that's done all over. But safe routes to school they start with the walking distance of a school, which is usually 1.5 miles. And so the school works to identify what is the safe route that students can walk to school. And these can be kind of expanded bigger than 1.5 miles, but with elementary schools, it's 1.5 miles. And I think an important thing to consider when we're talking about safe routes to schools too is that in some neighborhoods, there aren't parks. And so a lot of times students are going to the school, riding their bikes or walking there after school hours with their friends. And so we want to be sure that wherever a school is, it's going to be a safe place for students to be able to walk and bike and move around and get there and play, and for parents to feel comfortable choosing not to drive and drop their children off and be able to just open the door and shoo them out. I think another important thing when thinking about safe routes to school is there are some things that are just going to be out of our control, like children walking along State Street, like that's a highway with really fast traffic, tons of intersections and lanes, or children walking next to unprotected waterways. We have a lot of canals in Ada County, and so that's something else that we're not really able to address. But when it's things like, helping a parent not have to patch so many flats that their kid is getting because they're riding through a dirt patch to get to school, like we can build a sidewalk at ACHD and help mitigate that issue for them. And so safe routes to school are really important and probably some of, I think, like the best work that we do at Ada County.
Love that. Obviously a lot of it is the safety and the comfortability, but then bonus, all of those parents that aren't driving them to school in the morning are less drivers on the road as
Exactly.
Well, it helps with congestion on top of everything else.
Exactly. And if you can start kids early getting into active transportation, it's more likely to last later in their lives. And people that bike commute or walk commute, they're happier at work.
I love that.
Proven. Not just only me.
That's why you're so happy at work all the time. I really do appreciate just how passionate you are about your position. And I get really excited to talk to you about it because you just like exude this passion. And I always know that you're going into each one of these meetings with the right intention of doing what you can for a large part of our community to make sure that there's that balance. So I just wanted to throw that out there that I really do. I always appreciate it because I recognize the passion that you have every time we talk.
Thanks.
So obviously there's a lot of neighborhoods in Ada County, more and more every day. You're talking about the existing infrastructure and helping that. And of course, not all of these things were thought of 50 years ago or 30 years ago when all of these were being built. So how today are these routes chosen for improvement?
So we get all of we have tons of projects that we can do. A big way that we get projects is our neighborhood plans. And so every single year, ACHD planning looks at 2 different neighborhood planning areas. Wherever you live in Ada County, you have a neighborhood plan. And that's when we get to hear from parents and grandparents and just people who live in the neighborhood about what they're noticing. And a lot of times, because a school is an essential destination and an attractor for so many people in neighborhoods, we find projects that way. And then we also, every single year, we put out a call for projects to all of our key stakeholders. So that's every single city in Ada County itself, and all of the school districts. And so the school districts prioritize their projects, and they're usually working in coordination with the city. And so projects are ranked and scored, and there are more points if projects are next to or near to a school. And so we program those into the integrated 5-year work plan, and that's how projects get done. Projects do take a while to happen. Design usually takes 1 to 2 years, and then we have to buy the land, and that can take another year. And then finally we move into construction, and construction feels like it's never finished, but it does. It finishes eventually, but sometimes that takes a year too. And so we do kind of have to have that big picture view of it, which is why we have the integrated 5-year work plan to keep us on track.
Absolutely. It's always a great reminder, Meg, that it's not waving a magic wand and making it happen. There are so many details that go into it. And I think even more so with just how detail oriented we are at ACHD. I've been so impressed by everybody we work with, just making sure that everything's right. And part of that process, of course, is like the public involvement. We don't just decide we're doing something and then go do it. We almost always have a really extensive public involvement period where we're taking community input and feedback, and we really take that to heart too. If somebody's submitting a comment, there are people reading it and considering what that comment is and other alternatives and things like that. So definitely not a magic wand process.
No.
But worth it in the end.
Absolutely. Yeah, you just have to have a lot of patience.
Yes. Not only do these projects take an extensive amount of time, but obviously they cost a lot as well. Everything that we just talked about, from the conception to the public involvement to the design, implementation, that all costs money. So how do we fund these types of programs, especially the Safe Routes to School? How do we fund that at ACHD?
Yeah. So Safe Routes to School are funded through VRF fees, and VRF stands for Vehicle Registration Fees. I know for myself, I dread going to the DMV, and I will put it off until the very last minute. I also hate spending money, especially on things that it's like I can't even see this. But our VRF fees is the money that you're paying to register your vehicle here in Ada County. And so in 2008, ACHD put out a ballot measure to constituents of Ada County and said, we want to raise VRF from $20 to $40. And that was passed by a supermajority. And so we have those VRF fees now. And since 2008, ACHD has collected around $70 million in VRF fees. And so that $70 million is like an insane amount of money. But it really comes out to 142 Safe Routes to School projects and 283 community projects. And so when we're talking safe routes and community projects, we're talking crossings and bike lanes and sidewalks, and that's really it. And so, another way that number kind of breaks down is that's 12 Safe Routes to School projects every single year and 24 community program projects. So it's pretty exciting to be able to get all of that done, especially because in our neighborhood plans, we have like over 1,000 projects identified. So being able to check those off the list and get things completed is the VRF funds are huge for that.
And it makes you feel, at least speaking for myself, so much better as a resident to know when you're going in and you're sliding that card across the counter to pay for another something, another fee somewhere. I guess I just do it blindly without even thinking about it because I need to do it. And I've never really known where where that money goes.
Yeah.
So it's great to know that it's going to something so important and benefiting our community in so many ways. Those are big numbers that you just listed off. So that's made a huge impact on the county. So is that something that will continue on, the VRF fees, or what does Ada County look like without VRF fees?
Yeah, so the VRF fees right now, ACHD is collecting about $12 million a year through those VRF fees, and that number is just expected to increase every single year with growth in the county. But without that $12 million, again, a huge amount of money, we wouldn't be able to build out the network in the same way that we're able to now. And so those Safe Routes to School projects and community projects, they would have to compete for different sources of money from ACHD general funds. And that is going to make it a little bit more difficult for those projects to get completed because they're not a huge arterial roadway that's moving like 5,000, 6,000 cars. You know, it's maybe 100 kids a day.
And even if they competed and they were chosen, then that means something else is not getting done from the general fund.
Exactly. Yeah, we would just not be able to build out the network in the same way that we can. And I think especially with gas prices being what they are right now, like I know for myself, I'm feeling more encouraged to choose to ride a bike and riding further distances. But sometimes there are times where if I want to go visit a friend or go somewhere kind of further out of my neighborhood, there are some crossings and some places that are kind of dangerous to navigate and they make me uncomfortable and a little stressed out. And so I might choose to drive my car instead of bike because we don't have a crossing there. And I guess it would just take exponentially longer to get that done without the VRF fees.
Wow. And it's expected then to continue on, or
yes,
are we talking hypothetically?
Yes. So the VRF fees, when it was passed in 2008, this was a ballot initiative that was agreed to go to sunset in 2028. So it's likely that we will have to go back to voters and hopefully make the case for VRF fees and why they're so important.
Okay. Fantastic information. All right. So let's see. Just in general, in your short tenure here, 8 months or so, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I've been here since May.
We started around the same time. And it's really fast paced here. So I know you've seen a lot. What would you say are some of the things you're most proud of since you've been here?
Yeah, I think one of the things that was the most exciting is when I got this job, I definitely got kind of thrown into everything. And I got handed a document called the Livable Streets Performance Measures that was adopted by our commission. And the Livable Streets Performance Measures has like a really long name, but it stands for level of traffic stress. And these are different tables that ACHD created to be able to look at how different treatments are going to affect people walking and people biking and what their level of stress is going to be. And so they're measures that are new to everybody at ACHD and on the project teams. And so I get to analyze every single segment, every single intersection, and look at those livable streets performance measures and measure that LTS and make sure that we're building something that's going to be comfortable for all ages and abilities and finding adjustment factors to create a better, safer facility. Another exciting part, something exciting, I guess, that I've seen that's just like personal to me. I work with someone very closely in the planning department, and they were hit on their bicycle, I think a year before I got here at Cascia and Roosevelt. And now, since I've been here, that intersection is electric. We have something called RRFBs there, which are the flashing yellow signs. And so that creates an environment that's a safer crossing, and hopefully will stop anybody from ever having to get hit or be in an experience like my coworker was at Cascia and Roosevelt. So that's another exciting project that we've seen go in. I guess that's personal to me.
Great. And obviously there's a lot more coming too. So what are you excited about, or what do we have on the horizon for projects that are specific to bike and ped safety?
Yeah. Wow. We have so many projects that are specific to biking and walking, but some of the ones that I am really excited to see come through are we're doing a pedestrian hybrid beacon. So that's another crossing. It was just on the screen a minute ago. But that is going to stop traffic in both ways, and it's only for pedestrians and cyclists. And we're working in coordination with ITD to get that across Chinden at 43rd. And so that's going to be an awesome project. I know that myself at ACHD, sometimes, even though, Shandy, like you said, I love my job and I am passionate about this work. You can't sit at a desk all day and not like go a little cuckoo. So I do go to Jackson's gas station and get snacks or a soda or whatever. And I do see people crossing Chinden, and every single time my heart just kind of like races, and I get nervous about that roadway. And so I'm really excited to see that crossing go in and connect the West Bench to the Green Belt. I think it's going to be an awesome project. And another exciting project to me, again, it's just because of the personal nature of it. I'm the staff liaison for the Bike Advisory Committee and the Pedestrian Advisory Group, and those are open meetings, and so anyone can come. And we had some neighbors come from the Liberty Street Neighborhood Association on the West Bench, and we're planning a multi-use path on Liberty Street. And just hearing from those neighbors, I know how important that pathway is going to be for them to connect kids to a park and allow people walking their dogs and people biking, and just it's going to be a huge project for that neighborhood. And so that's another exciting project that I'm super eager to see go in. And there are so many. There's another path on Roosevelt that's going to be cool. And I mean, we're building out the network kind of everywhere, and so it's really fun.
I love that. Well, it does sound like we have just so much to look forward to. Of course, we update the community as these things are getting approved. We take the public input as we go. So I encourage everybody to continue to watch our social media or sign up for alerts on things, and just always make sure that you're getting that feedback, because we really do take that to heart and it's so important. So I've asked you a lot of questions, and we're almost out of time, but we do have time for a couple from our citizens. So I do have a couple of them here for you. So citizen James asked, who or what is the primary obstacle at ACHD to achieving your goals?
This is a great question. I think that working for a government agency, there are so many needs that we're constantly juggling. We have to take everyone into account. And we were in a meeting for a project that's in concept, and it's a bike and pedestrian project. And we were talking about, something has to give somewhere on this project. And someone said, there's like the triangle of fast, cheap, and easy, and you can choose two, but you can never have all three. And I think the same thing is true for roadway projects, except it's parking, trees, and bikes and pedestrians. And we have to balance all of these different needs of the users and of the neighborhood and also of the project team. And so I think that a lot of times we have to compromise, and that's like indicative of a government that's working. That's what we should be doing, is compromising and reaching a medium where everybody feels sufficient and that everybody's needs are being met. And it might not be the best for cars, it might not be the best for cyclists and pedestrians, but we're meeting the required needs and able to fit it in without blowing up a project and getting tons of negative feedback. And so I would consider that a win, in my opinion. So I think it's just that constant juggling act of working for a government agency with so many different opinions.
100%. And I've worked for several government agencies, and no matter what the issue, bike ped or something completely different, 3 calls will be just very passionate 100% one way, and then your next 3 calls are totally opposite. They want absolutely opposite. So it is a balancing act, and it's a difficult one. That is a big obstacle to try to work through, but it's finding that happy medium. And I think you guys are doing a great job at that. One more question. Citizen Cindy, are all new bike lanes going to be like the bike lane installed in the Maple Grove expansion? These are difficult to see past coming out of the side streets. This has been a big topic of discussion, not just externally, but internally as well. So
absolutely.
Chat with us about that.
Yeah, so at ACHD, we are really pushed to be innovative. And again, as Shandy has been saying, and I've been saying, we take public feedback. We're very open to public feedback, and we're really trying to address the needs and listen to everyone. And so in the case of Maple Grove from Victory to Overland, the treatment that Cindy is talking about is we have these things called delineators out there, and they're white. Someone submitted some feedback to me, and they called it a white picket bike fence, which I thought was the cutest thing in the whole world. But those delineators are a pilot project, and they were added after the project was designed. And so I think something important to remember is that it would be best if we could have just designed the project knowing that we were going to put those in. But we designed the project, we put it out to bid, and then we had public testimony to our commission. And so someone that uses those bike lanes came and said, this is not enough. You guys only have bike lanes striped on this street. We couldn't go back in and put that project back into design. So we had to find something that we could retrofit and just tack on to the project. And so that's why those delineators are there. And another important thing to keep in mind about them is that they're removable. And this is kind of a pilot project. So we're doing speed studies, we're doing bicyclist and pedestrian counts. And there's a short little jog of Maple Grove that does connect. It kind of connects Meridian and Southwest Ada County to the Sinmark Theater. And it goes and goes. It's our Hollandale Targhee Bikeway. And so there are important connections on that section, but that's not to say that the whole entire treatment is going to stay, or that we're going to design every single bike lane that way. I think we are just trying something new and looking at something. And so we'll continue to study it. And I guess stay tuned. I think in May or June, I'm going to be going in front of the commission and sharing what we've learned from those bike lanes and what the plan of action is moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll be sure to update everyone if any decisions are made on those. I haven't seen any other questions come through. So I do just want to remind the public that you can absolutely, if you're watching this in replay, great, submit questions. Meg will work with us to answer those on social media as we go. But I just want to thank you again, Meg, for joining us today and being willing to do this. I know that it can be daunting to go live on social media. But again, you are just so passionate about what you do, and there's so much to it that we use these simple terms all the time, but there's so many moving pieces behind all of it that I think it's great to give at least a little glimpse into what you're doing on a regular basis to the community. So Absolutely. Thank you so much for being with us. And unless you have anything else, then you are off the hook. You can hop on your bicycle and head to get your snack for the day.
Great. Yes, treat for it.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and have a wonderful day, Ada County.
Okay. Thanks, Shane.